All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. At this point, could everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Any public comments on agenda items only? Getting a none up there and none electronically. Moving right into discussion. Go for it.
Well, thank you very much. This evening, we're going to take a first kind of glance at the overall budget and some of the items that make up our budget. And we're going to go ahead and do this very sequentially that we've done in the past. So we'll do things in sections here and start with the tab under instruction in 1110. Okay.
All right, yeah, I'm just going to go over some high-level numbers real quick, just so you have a kind of a picture of kind of where we're going. So just looking at the 2027 budget versus the 2026 budget, which is what we're going to compare here, over the next couple of weeks. Currently, the way it sits, we're at about $1.7 million of more expense. And then also looking at it from a fund balance impact based on the numbers as of today, we're at about $2.4 million of a deficit. So just kind of keep those numbers in mind as we go through these layers and layers of details. Just a couple other high-level assumptions that you'll see in multiple tabs. So labor goes across multiple tabs, so just so we don't kind of necessarily get stuck. The labor assumption is based on the CBA, a 4.75% increase. Also within those labor numbers are rolled up benefit numbers. And the benefits estimate assumption that is in those numbers are a 20% increase. All right, that comes from guidance from the South Central Trust, where their preliminary numbers for Susquenita are at 18.5% with a not to exceed of 21.5%. So I built a middle ground number in there of 20% into the budget, knowing that it could go down or it could go up slightly. That sounds like a big increase. That came across the trust. I think the trust average was like 16%. We were a little bit higher just because we had adverse claims over the last year, and the rates are just running higher with all these GLP drugs and things like that. So I'm sure you've heard about that in the news and stuff like that. So that's the primary driver for the 20% increase in the benefits and a 4.75% increase for the labor. So, and that attributes to about a $1.6 million change to the budget, just those two line items alone. So that makes up a majority of our $1.7 million increase budget over budget. About 1.6 million between those two items. So as we go through these other tabs, you'll see some pluses and minuses, but the overall big picture, that's the primary driver of the difference. So now, as Dr. Fox said, we can jump into.
Just a quick question,
Yep.
and I won't have many because I didn't get a chance to look at this at all due to my other commitments. But did we, what's a normal increase for medical benefits, like year over year? I know you said this was higher just because of adverse claims and stuff, but what do we normally have?
So I think last year we were right around the 5 or 6%, if I'm not
Oh, wow,
correct.
so this is really a lot bigger.
Yes.
Okay.
And we typically have been on the lower end of the trust because our claims, were, pretty good. But yeah.
But overall, the trust is a lot higher for everybody.
Correct. Yeah, we're
Okay.
a little bit higher than the trust. I think the trust is like 16.5, and ours is like 18.5.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody's
Everything's up. I mean, maybe I'm
Correct.
not using the right terms there, but okay.
Yep.
All right. That's not
All right.
bad.
So now we'll jump over to the primary instruction tab of 1110. Talk about what line items.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and, if we can, we'll take a look at line items 3 to 47. And as you review those, please let us know if there's questions on line items 3 through 47. Did you publish that?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Put this up here, put this up here.
I have a question, and maybe it's not on this tab, but is the split class compensation, is that accounted for in here? Is that included under like substitutes, or is that going to be on another tab? She wants you to refresh.
Sorry, technical difficulties. What was the question?
So the question is, in the new CBA, we outlined or added in the split class pay for elementary and middle high school, but mostly the split class in the elementary. And is that accounted for in here under substitutes? Well, it is, I see a nodded head going. So do we up well, this is only elementary substitutes.
Correct.
Yeah, so I guess, have we included what we predict split pay recompensation is gonna be in that substitutes number, or is it going to be on another tab, in another section?
No, I'm pretty sure it falls into this category. I think it's in substitutes, so we don't calculate that out. So I understand there is a small increase in that.
Well, no, I think what we decided was that for elementary, that
It would actually
it
be
would
a-
be the cost of a substitute would be split amongst the
Correct.
educators that are taking over. So I guess that, maybe that just, as I speak that out loud, that sort of answers my question, I guess. So if we have a substitute that comes in, that would go to the person that comes in that day. If not, it would just be divided
Correct.
out amongst. Okay. Maybe the same question will come up then for middle school and high school, because that's different, isn't it?
It's a little different.
Yeah, so,
But I think we budget for it the same way.
same way. Okay.
Yeah, first primary goal is always if we could procure a substitute, that's where we go. Otherwise, the CBA speaks to how that's divvied up.
Summer program, is the justification just cost savings, or is there another reason we're not doing the summer program? Just curious.
Summer program, I think, when we look at that, it was the amount of resources and revenue being spent in the amount of time that we were able to deliver, as well as knowing that we have some construction and some other areas and some renovation throughout campus this year. So we thought it would be a year to take off and to pause it.
Do we have any idea, how do I say this? My mind is completely blank. We all know that early childhood intervention in reading, et cetera, is like incredibly important. So do we have any idea of how effective this program may have been? I understand not having it next year for all the reasons you said. Do we have any idea to know how effective that program was in maybe giving some of our students a boost moving forward? And maybe if we don't have the data, maybe not doing anything this summer gives us a cohort that maybe we could collect a little data on to see how effective that program was.
Yeah, I think that would be good to be able to see and to track some of that data. I think some of the qualitative data that we collected, certainly from teachers, was that the program really helps students in the first time in their first experience into what school looks like, feels like, and it really gave them a jump start in that first couple of days that they experienced school to take some of that school anxiety, follow the rules, follow those expectations, offer parents, at that time, some of those resources to continue to use throughout the summer. One thing we do as well as during kindergarten registration is they are offered and provided some books and some resources during kindergarten registration that parents and guardians can take home and use those resources to really bolster that, as well as our Ready to Learn, Ready to Succeed partnership through the United Way.
So I'd like,
Yeah, it's pretty limited construction, so I don't want to misrepresent anything. Limited construction at the elementary school. It is basically just flooring at this point, although we are looking at some other things, but mainly at this point, flooring.
I have to raise my hand. Charter school tuition. Two questions. Can you explain to me the big shift in the numbers for elementary and then the flop in the secondary? That's question number one. And question number two, I see that the overall difference is a negative, is a net positive, I guess, of 240,000. Is that all that we got in terms of the charter school reforms? Is that reflective of the charter school reforms?
Yeah, so let me answer your first question first, all right? So the difference there is the budget in 2026 didn't do an accurate representation of how we're actually coding.
Okay.
So you'll see a lot of that throughout, that there's a netting going on. The team's doing a much better job of coding things correctly, which hopefully down the road we can get actuals in here as well, just not quite there yet. So yeah, you'll see that, and that's exactly what that is to more level set how we're actually seeing the spending come through. And then, yes, so we did get the new PDE number, or formula, which in theory should show favorability back to the school districts. We haven't seen enough actuals come through to really see what that overall impact is. So I just took a $250,000 swag here, which
Okay.
is right around 10%, maybe a
Okay,
little
I
bit.
see that.
It could be more than that, but I believe our actual spending is actually more than what the last year's budget was. So the actual deduction that I took compared to actuals is more than the 250. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't even know if it'll ever become real evident, because I understand that we're going to get reductions, but we could also have an increase in whatever. So it's not going to show you the true. But I think it would be good for those of us, particularly Dr. Pat, what's your name? Jones, and myself, who have met with Senator Rothman and Representative Stambaugh, to be able to have a number that we can kind of get a sense of, okay, yes, there were reforms, but this was what the real number was for us as a school district. So
Right.
whenever you get a sense of that, maybe just to let one of us know that, just so we could have that kind of in the toolbox, so to
Okay,
speak.
yeah, will do.
yeah, along those lines, since you brought up charter schools, one of the changes they made with the charter schools is they're not allowed to accept students who are habitually truant. And so I came across a situation actually today where apparently when the child wants to go and the school has to fill out their piece, there's a box. Is the child marked habitually truant? And when you check it yes, then the parent gets a letter saying, we're not accepting you because they've been habitually truant, which parents don't like that, which is fine. But they are following it and they are doing it, and it's just that simple. So I think that's a positive thing. Yeah, it's great.
All right, if we're going to go ahead and move on to supplies, let's tackle line number 59 through 107. Lots
I
of areas.
apologize, I jumped ahead. I went beyond 47, I apologize for that.
That's okay, you kept us
Sorry about
moving.
that.
No worries.
Actually, while you're rolling ahead, it just makes me think, that's all the more reason we need to be very diligent in making sure when they become habitually truant, that we actually mark them habitually truant quicker before they have a chance to leave, before they're actually marked. You know what I mean? Because it's a huge, I know that whole process with the SAPES and everything is a lot of work, but that's a really good reason to stay on that, because ultimately it helps the child, number one, and number two, it could save us hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Some pretty general supplies there. We'll go ahead and move ahead from kindergarten into supplies for Title I, line number 176 through 210. Excuse me. We'll go ahead and moving forward with supplies, and feel free to stop me at any point. We can move back or move forward. Certainly, wait time was never a strong suit when I was a teacher. Under supplies, 274 to 301. I'm sorry, we'll continue to roll through.
Just a kind of a
456.
general question.
Yes.
I noticed that there was just a different way they're being entered now with, it looks like a hyperlink to whatever. Not that it matters to me so much whether it's a pencil or glue stick, but how do you know what it is without, like it seemed before you knew exactly what was being ordered. Yeah, right, I guess, but I meant just from ease of, well, I mean, I don't know, would you rather have the words? I don't know.
If they're
That's a
purchasing
really
it
long
from-
hyperlink.
If they're purchasing it from Amazon, the amount's gonna change. So it's better to know what it is. And, I mean, you could put the hyperlink in a different column, or you even just change the hyperlink to the name of what it is, so that.
And keep the link,
if we-
yeah.
You can keep the link,
Yeah,
but.
that might be helpful.
Shorten the hyperlink to just, hey, this is blue pencils.
Is that why they're not, why it's a whole new section? Like, you don't have nothing in the 2026?
Oh, you have to blow open the, I just did all the roads from.
Dude, you can't be doing this to me in Excel. I mean, like, I'm not an. I guess what I'm trying to, just bear with me for my ignorance in this. So if I just look down supplies, first grade, you have all the blue hyperlinks, and then below it, you have the 2026. So why are they just not side by side? Or are they just? I think they're different. Are they just because they're all different? Maybe,
Not all, but like, for example, like for this line 90, Amazon basic 24 count, 1249 for 2027. Blank for 2026. Why wouldn't we just have what that cost was last year?
if they bought them, I guess. Okay.
So we're not just reordering the same supplies during the time, or is that a smaller percentage?
that are year to years, your paper, glue sticks, scissors, those types of things. But they're asked really to take a look at their full inventory and see what can be reused versus what just needs to be reordered every time.
Okay.
The term zero base gets used, but that's not necessarily the most accurate term.
Yeah, so the individual supplies themselves.
And, like, I don't want to make, none of us want to make this more tedious for anybody. And so I think most of us look at this and go, why the what? Why the big here, okay? And so we could look at that and kind of get a sense of where the big jump was. So like if I look at kindergarten, they've doubled nearly their supplies, right? No, they've reduced them, but right, by 50%. So, or if the converse had been true, like I could go, okay, why, I could just ask you why that is. But I think maybe that's why having them side by side, but I get it, it's gonna be pointless if they're not gonna be the same thing every year. So then I think maybe going to however is the kindergarten one now, I see you have the hyperlinks there, but there's the item, sort of what like Marcy was saying. You've got your hyperlink, but you know what it's going to. That is, I think, is probably the best compromise of, rather than the one that has just the long.
I mean, some of the hyperlinks copy over nicely.
Okay. Well, then if we have a question about something, we could just ask what it is, but, yeah, all right.
Third grade? And we'll roll with fourth grade, which will be lines 610 through 648. Excuse me. All right, we'll look at art. Music. And we're still at the elementary level here. Computers. Physical education. Represented in lines 829 through 840. And I just want to say 840 sounds like a quality whistle when it's a Fox 40. Sorry. Under miscellaneous, or subtotal for the principal's account. Representative in lines 865 through 909. A lot of some of these miscellaneous, you'll see pom-poms, Q-tips, large glue sticks, some of these supplies here, dowels, those are going to be STEM-related, utilized for our STEM classroom, and some also for our makerspace.
Yeah, they may have been either missed on one of the tabs last year, or they were categorized somewhere else, within the budget. But, yeah, so these are items that showed up this year that didn't fall into one of the other classrooms, so.
All right, let's go to books and printed material at the elementary school, lines number 919 through line number 954. The abbreviation KG is kindergarten. You'll see one notable increase in here, which is part of our caucus presentation last time, was to talk a little bit about the foundations and increasing foundations to grade 4 this year. Fourth is the grade level.
They didn't, it was expanded to 4th grade, is that correct? Right? This is a new thing, so that's the reason why it's an added extra cost. I was listening, just saying. Even though you think I'm not, I don't.
All right, we have some dues and fees at the elementary, as well as, well, that's dues and fees at the elementary, and then we'll move into middle school. Middle school, line number 967. At any point, slow me down if I'm going too slow, or speed me up if I'm going too slow. 967 through 1002, salaries and benefits. Supplies middle school, that's going to be represented in the lines 1008 to line 1121.
How did good Lord, the book that everyone read, I can't remember the name of it now. Giving, the something,
The wishing tree.
how was that, how did that go in general, and is that something that you're gonna budget or thinking about for next year? Do you have a book in mind? Is that in here?
Yeah, we do, we have some in here, but we use the, we have the mic back.
So there is a copy of this year's book that I've yet to pass out to you that I will coming at February's caucus.
Yeah, I gave him a copy for everybody, but we use the Colleen Company gives us picture money for every kid that's like $3 a kid. So we use that towards it, and we also have some fundraisers. our middle school teachers do, and we also use, I budgeted for it this year just to have, if we need it. But they do, there's different avenues they go through to get money as well. So this year's book is The Fort, which is really good. I read it last month, and Dr. Fox has a copy of it for you
What's it
guys.
called, The Fort?
The Fort.
That sounds fun.
And we had, last week, we had, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Savannah Bananas. So there's a kid that went to West Perry who pitches for them. He does the headstand pitch. He was the pitcher. He came in and was one of our guest readers, and the kids all got to meet him and come
Oh,
down and
that's
get
cool.
autographs from him. So
And I think the Black Hawk Foundation actually contributed
they
as
help
well.
money too. Yep. So Mrs. McMillan and Mrs. Gilroy are two of our big leaders of that down at the middle school. So they do a great job.
And I'll make sure your books get to you, my apologies. Sorry, sixth grade, moving on. Lines 1,225. Bless you, 1351. Supplies, math, 7th and 8th grade. 1522. The 1627. $1634, you'll start to see the supplies for English language arts reading 7th and 8th grade. That is down to 1694. Line 1694. Supplies for science, 7th and 8th grade, starting in line 1,777 with owl pellets. I'd just like to say that.
So I have a question. I've seen in a couple of these, they have iPad USB-C chargers. Should that be in theirs, or should that come out of technology? Yeah, sorry, thank you. I was gonna say computers, but having a day. So, and why are we getting them? Is that to replace because kids don't have them, and is that a different issue that needs to be followed up with? I mean, it's not a lot of money. I'm just asking. I'm not saying I'm.
Yeah,
gonna
you
say,
will
like,
see once we get to the tech budget, we did try to keep everything tech over in tech, but this comes through the particular school's teacher budget, so I don't
And
have
what
the
is it, one charger?
specific answer for why,
It's only
you
like
know.
23 bucks. Like, it's only like one charger.
Right.
Right. Well, that's why I said I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say, but I've seen
No,
it
I
like
know.
for some of them. But so I'm just.
That's a good question.
I'm just wondering, like, it doesn't seem like it's to the kids though, right? Because it is for the kids? I know, but it's only one. It looks like it's only one. Oh, okay.
You keep it in the room so when the kid comes the next day, oh, I forgot, my brother used it last night. You have that backup, because instead of them getting out. I don't even get paid.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, no, wait,
that
here's
makes
the
total.
other, here's the other thing too. It's listed several times on there. I was thinking they were only ordering one of these emergency chargers. Yeah, right. So
But you-
to
in
me, it
my-
would seem to
in my
make sense
mind-
that you would have iPad chargers and put them all in the same line, but I get it. They're different
In my
lines.
mind, they would go to the IMC and sign out one for use, and then return it to the IMC, and that they would coordinate that. I don't know if I don't know if there's always someone in what we call the library or not, but that's, when you need to borrow a piece of technology, laptop, something. But I don't know, just whatever. If it's working, it's great. But I understand what you're saying, like, you would think that you would have extra chargers available for the kids to sign out of a resource center, not in each individual room, but.
Well, and I just didn't know if it should be under the technology line and that we would order them in bulk instead of each teacher ordering just one. I don't know if that's cheaper. Like,
That's actually a bigger question with all supplies. Because right now, each teacher orders their own through Amazon, so maybe it does make sense to consolidate and do supplies. But that's
yeah,
a bigger
that's-
conversation.
that's a bigger conversation.
But
like,
we've had that conversation before,
We order a lot of markers. You can order Crayola markers in bulk, and then they can go in and say, okay, I'm gonna pick out what I need for a pack.
Because we talked about,
Get it,
years ago,
but-
we talked about even having like a general supply that we just have in the school district, and you just replenish that general supply. I mean, does that, I'm not saying right now, does that make sense to do? I got a nod.
But if you order something too much, there's construction paper, like when I got to middle school 5 years ago, there's construction paper there for 10 years. And people are still ordering, so it just goes back, so like markers. If you order expo markers, and you don't use it for 5 years, I need that expo marker to dry out.
Yeah.
We just wasted our money. We only needed 1 pack, not 42 packs.
I think a great step in this process, a long-term step in this or the next step in this process, not a long-term step, but the next step would be for us to really take a look at certain bid specs and to narrow down the amount of pens, the amount of markers, the amount of items that we talked about, and then narrowing that down into some specifics and saying, here are the limited choices, getting some overall quotes. Now, we've seen some things that are pros and cons with that. We've seen sometimes when you spec out a pen, that pen may actually be more money than what some of the research that's being done here. So there's pros and
When
cons
you
to
say
that.
spec out, what do you mean by that? Like,
So there's certain companies you can go out and you can get specifications
yeah,
for.
see, and
the-
I almost wouldn't do that, because I agree with you. I think you'll get screwed doing it that way. But is there, and I think the reason why we got a hiccup on this before when we talked about it was, who would you have that's going to be responsible for that managing of that supply place? Where would it be? Where would the storage be? Like, I know that those were some of the things, but maybe it's something to explore again. Maybe when, with the construction we're doing now, as we're re-envisioning space, do we re-envision a space for something like that? I don't know, just something to think about maybe. But it may sound like a little bit of savings, but it might be more than what we think. I don't know, maybe, I don't know. Another thing on the to-do list.
But back to the charger question. Oh,
I can speak to the charger.
yep. So I think, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can go back and look at that, make sure we don't have that duplicated.
And at the end, as long as the middle school is getting the chargers that they have, it doesn't matter if it's going from A to B, as long as it's not replicated in 2 areas where we can order them from there and making sure that the middle school gets the appropriate amount. So it's not doubling up. Absolutely.
Well, no, and I didn't, the funny thing was, is I only thought it was one, I thought it was one because I didn't see it on multiple lines. Yeah, I didn't see that. I just saw the one, and I'm thinking, we're only ordering one charger?
Social studies, 7th and 8th grade. Art supplies, middle school.
What's the $1,000 shipping charge? I mean, I know it's a shipping charge. I'm just curious.
Yeah, so they're, whenever they get the item, they get the price like online or wherever they get it, you know, the shipping is, you know, obviously a
Just for
separate item.
everything?
So they got to account for the shipping
Okay.
within the item as well.
And then there's a $2,000 from 2026. It's reduction to a line. What is that?
What line item?
2075.
Oh, so last year when we did the budget, we asked the particular art teacher to go back and actually reduce their budget. So that rather than have them go pull $2,000
Gotcha.
out,
Yep.
we said, hey, you know, you're gonna have to cut $2,000 worth out. So it was just a reduction line placeholder.
It's really neat seeing some of the showcase work that is being done in the middle school art, well, all the art programs. But my office definitely connected to the middle school, right, our office, so I get a chance to make a quick left and see all the artwork that's in the showcase there. Supplies, music, 2082 through 2089. Supplies, world language. The world language that we teach at the middle school is Spanish, 2096 through 2125 for the totality at 2149. Health and physical education, 2153 to 2160. Total line number at line 2181. Separate category, we reserve $750 in the event a new teacher comes, and that way there's supplies ready for that new teacher or new teachers.
Have a new teacher last year and this year?
You'll see the same category from 27 and 26. It's the same number, that's just replicated both years. So in the event that there was a new teacher. Did I answer your question? I'm sorry.
But if we didn't get a new teacher, what happened with the
Get a
750?
new teacher, then why do we have another 750 there?
Saying that in the event that there is a new teacher come in, is it just for STEM or is it for anybody in the middle school?
No, that's for anybody in the middle school.
But we don't take every teacher in the district and
No, it's not for per teacher, it's just one teacher.
No, we don't. We just put in a category to say if in fact, unfortunately, if we do have a new teacher, like right now, we are advertising for an autistic support teacher because we do have a teacher that's leaving. In the event that that teacher comes in late, they wouldn't have the ability to put in any supply requests.
do we do that for every teacher in the district?
No, we do it for every building in the district. We give a category in the event that there would be a need.
So that makes sense, I don't think.
we don't think we, yeah. Yes. No, for all new teachers.
They don't get 750.
And they don't get $750 a teacher. And it's not $750 per one teacher. Right.
It's for the building.
Yeah, right.
No, I think it's because we talked about STEM and then we went and did the new teacher line, so I understand how that would be.
Never mind. Can I do anything on this? Can I make my own change? I was just thinking maybe to clarify it, is just put teacher parentheses S. That way we know that this is the amount that's allotted for new teacher supplies. Teachers. I think when it had only new teacher, it sounds like we're giving every new teacher $750. Now it makes it, but whatever you want to do. We're all full of. Yes. How many teachers? Correct. Right, but what I'm saying is, next year we will have this exact same discussion unless we put something in there like that tells us it's talking about the whole building.
It was up under elementary, and you guys went right by it, so. It was up under elementary, too. So, you've seen it before.
Dues and fees, field trips. R&M service of equipment, middle school. And we'll round out middle school with miscellaneous expenses at the middle school. Please take a review of those items before we head into high school. All right, let's tackle high school. Salaries and benefits, high school, line number 2273, to line number 2305. Field trips at the high school, 2312 to 2341. Postage at the high school, that's our shipping. And some postage costs as well. Travel at the high school. And
Hold on. So, why no chaperones for a push trip? Like, are they not going? Am I not reading that right? Yeah, but there's nothing budgeted in 2027. And I know that Olivia talked about the Constitutional Convention and that them wanting to do or something involved with it. Now, that's talking about a trip to it. or chaperone for it. But I was just wondering if you know why there is nothing listed there.
I'm not sure like how it was budgeted last year. Like what do we pay the chaperone for? So that would be up under the substitute, because that's where we would code the actual payment to
Okay.
for the substitute, so.
And that would be in line 2304. You'll see high school substitutes.
Confusing, because there are substitutes for all these trips, and
And
they're
they're-
not necessarily included in the substitute line.
Well, it looks like, Mike, it almost looks like it is, because they're not showing them in there, right? Sports leadership trip, field trip. Is that the same thing, Greg? Are they all the substitutes? Like the 460, would that have been what they were for last year?
Yeah, but other ones, like 2331, substitute teachers is listed.
So, Mr. Browse, what you're saying is that on this year's budget, because you would have coded it under substitutes, it would not have been used on that particular line item for this year. You coded everything up under substitutes.
Correct, yeah. So the actual coding would be up under substitutes as opposed to being coded down to the field trips line item. So last year it was budgeted down there, broken out, and this year that actual payment actually would be up under substitutes.
So was our budget somewhat overinflated because it sounds like we double budgeted because we budgeted for substitutes, but then we also budgeted for the substitutes again under this chaperones?
No,
Correct, yes.
no, the substitutes we budgeted for, did we do it another one? Was there a line item we already passed?
So
For high school?
high school substitutes, but that's
Line
where.
2304 is high school
Okay.
substitutes.
Okay,
So one of the
That's-
things that we try to do is anytime a budget comes down and it has a trip in it, we try to look at the totality of that trip. It's not just about the cost of admission into a particular museum or experience. What is the estimated cost of the transportation? What is the estimated cost of the substitute? So what is that totality of what that experience and that educational value associated with that educational experience would be budgeted for? And then it tries to then be broken into those particular categories.
so I think what somebody on, my friends on the opposite side of the aisle, said, or somebody over there said, but that's not consistent because they have substitutes broken out down below, and they're in here now and not in the substitute. So for like the farm show, for the CBFS field trip, they're showing the substitute listed here in this part of the budget.
So I think the question comes into
Just
line
reconciling that.
2324, chaperone aid push, class trip, 2 teachers, 1 nurse, and chaperone mock constitutional convention, 2323. We just need to take a look if those, what the cost of the substitutes are, and we'll get that answer.
No,
Right.
it sounded like from what Jason said, that if there was a substitute coded last year, it has been put in the budget under the substitute line, which I'm fine with, I don't care where it goes. But down below, it's not consistent, because down below in this same section, there's a line item for substitutes for different field trips. So whichever way it goes is fine, but I wouldn't want to put the aid push in a line here if it's already been built in to the substitute budget above. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, we want to do the budget where the actuals are going to be posted. So if we pay for a substitute, it'll fall up under just instruction substitute. It won't necessarily get charged directly to a specific field trip or anything like that. So the downfall of that is it's going to be very difficult to see, oh, okay, this particular field trip
What
cost a
it
total of
costs. I see.
$5,000.
I see.
You know, down here, we're just kind of covering the cost of the, I guess, whatever it costs to get in and things like that.
Can you, well, what I was just going to say, I like the idea of knowing what a field trip costs, right? But when you get a field trip request, doesn't it lay that out? No, it doesn't lay out the cost on it. I know they tell you on there how many substitutes needed. That's a section on it, right, I believe? Yeah, so, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I just was wanting to make sure it was consistent, however it works for you guys, so.
Yeah, if I may, like, maybe spend some time with this, because I even see, like, online, let me see if I can find it again. With the CBFS field trip, 2327 as Roar bus transportation. And then on 2331 is the substitute teachers for the CBFS field trip. Then 2332 is the subs and the bus transportation for the land driving, land judging and the trout stocking. So some of them it's combined, some of it's separate. And I'm also just curious how that went up from $400 to $600 to do land judging and trout stocking. That's usually like the Enviro Club. That's usually not a lot of kids. That went up, way up. I'm just curious as to why. And that's the 2332. So maybe just look and do that section a little differently, because so it's a little more consistent.
So we can do and break this down however you really want it. How do you want it?
Just the same.
Okay.
Consistent, it doesn't matter, I don't think it matters to me how you do it. I just want to make, as to have it coded where it's actually, as Jason said, being used. I just think.
Well, I guess my question is your 135,000 that's in the substitute line under substitutes, what is that number based off of? Is that based on your anticipated number of substitute hours needed, or is that your number based on substitute hours plus all of the substitutes needed for field trips? Because if it's those two combined, and then you're duplicating the cost of the substitutes in the section below, then the budget's expenses are overstated.
So, I mean, substitutes is very difficult to budget because you never know how many you're going to have. So I really look at historical over the prior years and stuff like that. So if I'm in the ballpark, I keep the budget relatively flat there. So it's not like I'm saying, oh, I'm going to need 5 substitutes to cover these 5 field trips. I got to add whatever, $500 to that substitute line. So the substitute is sort of a range, I guess you would say, of plus or minus. It's not an exact science.
And we
But-
can't, go ahead.
Based on how you're coding it this year, you're putting all the field trip substitutes in that substitute line. So that would
Correct.
plus all the substitutes needed for actual instruction if a teacher calls out or is on vacation, anything like that. So you would have a relatively reasonable number to base an estimation off of for
Correct.
27,
Correct.
based on those actual numbers.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any way, I mean, it's probably, the answer is probably no, that you could have 2 substitute lines? Is that what you were thinking? Like, can you have a thing that says substitute field trips? Because that's going to be a fixed number based on the number of field trips that these field trips are going to be requested. They already know how many substitutes they're going to ask for. They're likely to be used up. Because I think it would be helpful, because then you have an idea year over year what your variable substitutes are, separate from those fixed substitutes you know you're going to have for field trips. And
Yeah,
maybe-
we can, just whenever the substitute information timesheets come down, they're gonna have to call out specifically what they're doing, and then the payroll person's gonna have to code it accordingly to different categories, as opposed to right now, it's substitute high school, substitute middle school, substitute elementary school. So yeah, we can break it down into 500 categories if we want, but the information's gonna have to come from the buildings, and then the payroll person's gonna have to code it accordingly within CSIU.
I see.
I echo, because I was thinking the same thing. We don't know the true cost of a field trip then if it's all lumped into the substitutes.
Correct, it would have to be a manual calculation if you wanted to truly know what the cost of a particular field trip was.
Okay, so then that brings me to my back to my CBA question. When we're paying middle school and high school teachers that give up their planning a rate based on their a fixed rate or whatever, variable rate over the course of the contract, but a rate by hour. Where is that? Is that in this, is that being coded in this substitute number?
So if you're saying we're paying a teacher to cover a class or whatever.
Yeah, because somebody's out, because somebody's out, right? And
So
they're
that
like, they're
would
covering.
actually be coded to their regular labor and benefits. So that would fall into that top category. Now, it would not be broken into the teacher's labor and salary here.
But where are we budgeting for that? I guess is my question, not so much where you end up coding it, but where did we budget for that coverage pay in here?
I'd have to look, but I believe that I calculate that into substitutes as well.
You did,
So
okay.
any extra pay within the school outside of their regular salary would fall under the substitute category, even if it isn't technically a
Right.
substitute. But
So now going back to your coding, it's not getting coded as substitute. You said it's probably getting coded as
As-
an addition to the regular pay.
addition to the regular pay, yes.
So then can we now put the field trips in with the substitutes and I'm just spitballing,
Well, we can do anything.
And not put it in, but put it as a separate line item that says substitutes field trips. I don't know. I know you'll think it through, whatever, but
Yeah, let me chew on that one a while.
chew on it. And just so that you guys have the information you need, I think the feeling of the board is to make it consistent, right? Is that kind of where we're at? You guys do, but I don't want to, for our consistency, I don't want it to undermine what you guys need too, Does that make sense? Okay. And did I see that science fair stuff was going away, or no? I thought I saw one there. Can't see anything. Field trips and competitions, science fair and envirothon. Looks like it went away. There was $2,500, and that's gone. Line 2333. He quit. He's done.
It's fine. I can go back and revisit with him. I consolidate some of the stuff that he sends down and try to put it into smaller categories. So I'll see if his is broken out into more line items, and I will correct this before next week.
So moving ahead, there are some categories, speaking of science fair, and I believe it's represented in line 2787 under CASEF registration fees, if that's the one, as well as, yeah. And 2788, you'll see some of those as well represented. 2788 and 2789 under dues and fees, high school.
I don't think that that's what that number is missing. I think it's when they went to the state college, I think it was the field trip part of that, where not when students, or like even when they went down to KSIF and the bus or van or whatever they took, I don't know. I think that's what that 2,500 was, not just for the fees,
So, Mr. Funk, I think one of the questions came up about science fair and some of the trips associated with science fair, where that might be located in terms of some of the travel opportunities for science fair.
Well, he's looking, maybe we could budget some Dramamine for board members that have to follow this presentation.
I'm like, this was on line item on here, 2333, which says field trips and competitions, science fair, envirothon, comma, and it was $2,500 last year, and there's nothing listed this year. So it sounds to me like, because it says field trips and competitions, it sounds like it's like maybe the transportation to State College for the state PJAS. Okay. I just didn't know, it just seemed to be a big number that wasn't in.
I don't see it in middle school either.
And Dr. Jones, we'll research the question 2332 with the land judging and the trout stocking as to why that increased from 400 to 1,000, and see if there's other categories that are rolled up into 2332. If it's permissible, we'll move ahead with taking a look at postage at the high school, and then we'll start into supplies, which are represented in line 2362, starting with the department Spanish.
Mr. Brouse, just for consistency, so again, here it says travel high school, but it says the conference and substitute. University Art Education Conference and substitute. So is it just is it just the line item description that needs to be?
It's the travel for those two particular conferences. So the individuals going to those conferences or people going to those conferences, the travel costs associated with those. And again, when submitting for a totality of a conference, they will look at the full,
The full.
yeah, the full total cost, trying to anticipate that total cost of a particular conference or contest. And certainly, as you can imagine, dealing with thousands of lines, things sometimes, in terms of descriptions of what we have, and our job's trying to take those and make as much meaning to those as possible. And hence the reason we go through these, every line, not only looking at the budgetary number, but understanding the why behind it, and having our team available here for any questions that those line items may come up. So if we could take our attention to supplies at the high school, social studies, Spanish, science, language arts, math, PE, art. I'll allow you to take a look at the totality of the supplies. I'll pause. You'll see books and printed material, line 2069 to line 2778. Dues and fees at the high school, starting in line 2783, which is Youth Art Day submission fee, and ending with 2789, student essay contents and miscellaneous entrance fees. And we'll round out high school and instruction by taking a look at miscellaneous expenses, which occur in 2796, which includes our version field day for students. Just some general supplies, some food for the athletes and volunteers, snacks during that time, T-shirts to support, which is an incredible day, and science fair ribbons and plaques. Altogether for instruction, you'll see there's a rough increase of 1.4% from the 26 to the 27 school year.
How do we do that with the salaries, the teachers' salary increases? How do we only go up 1.4%?
It's just supplies.
Oh, this was only supplies? No, this is everything.
What?
That's correct.
Great question.
I'm fine with that. You don't even have to explain. Okay.
ESL went to the IU, that was.
Okay.
Yeah, but if labor went up total for the district 4.7%, healthcare, and it contributes to $1.6 million over deficit. That's amazing.
I think that's attributed to the teachers themselves of looking at what supplies do they need in order to be able to deliver, and then kind of projecting across the board and sharing and preserving. It's a testament to the department leaders and their leadership, as well as to the principals for looking at this. And I also want to give a kudos to the Black Hawk Foundation for supporting a lot of the field trips. When you see, we do a lot more field trips than what's listed here, and that's because of their incredible support and their support through all of the hard work that they do to be able to encourage activities that aren't necessarily here in the budget, and other things that come up too as well that we're like, we didn't budget for that. Can we make this happen for students? Because it's an incredible opportunity, and they support that.
Don't forget, there was a $240,000 decrease in cyber as well. So that,
That makes a little more sense.
And as you're looking at tax season, if you'd like to make a contribution to the Black Hawk Foundation, a 501c3, please feel free to do so. Any contribution is accepted, and any contribution helps.
I'm happy that it's not that much of a difference. It just seems a little too good to be true. So maybe just make sure we didn't miss something along the way there, just because of the salary increase and like Mike said. And I do appreciate, you can see definitely areas where there have been savings year over year in terms of supplies and things like that. But it doesn't seem to, because even the cyber savings is like 1.7%. Yeah.
All right, we ready to go to 1190, the federal programs?
All right, taking a look at 1190 federal programs, we have salary and benefits from federal programs. Federal programs are supported primarily through our title programs. We have Title II, or Title I, excuse me, Title II, and we also are fortunate to receive some funds from Title IV. That title monies and estimated title funds, we get an allocation typically, Ms. Nutter, May-ish, April, May-ish, from a preliminary number as we build that program out. And then we get some budgetary adjustments that come later on. And it's typically a small reduction depending on what those final allocations are. But nevertheless, our programs are used to support reading and our reading specialists, math specialists, data specialists, as well as STEM at the elementary school. Anything not produced from revenue from Title I is made up and offset with the general fund budget. Okay, that tackles federal programs.
All right, 10 over to 1340, we're going to go to fax.
1340, Family Consumer Sciences. We have two Family Consumer Science programs. We have it as a special at the middle school in a rotation. And we have a two-teacher program, one full-time teacher at the high school and one part-time teacher that teaches both. An incredible addition to the high school when you think of it, being able to teach both Family Consumer Science and Spanish. So you'll see middle school, salary and benefits, and some supplies here as well for the programs and offerings that are offered for the middle school.
So then is that fax teacher just listed here and then not listed as a Spanish teacher? Is she,
I believe that's correct.
okay.
That's correct, because the totality of it here is just listed here for,
Okay.
for Family Consumer Science. Family Consumer Science High School, looking at salaries and benefits and some general supplies. They do a good job of really making sure, and part of it is, trying to figure out some of the basics when it comes to how do they make more with kind of some lesser ingredients, and making those food labs go further. Overall, they had a 4% reduction from the subsequent prior year.
So again, just a
Correct.
quick question about the FACS again. Is that a different teacher? Is that why the cost went down?
So there's actually, I made an adjustment. One of those I just found since I sent it out to you. The one fax teacher I had the wrong rate in for.
Okay.
So it's actually a little bit higher. So
Okay.
on the, there's a tab out there called adjustments. You'll see all the changes that I made. I didn't make it on the file that you have. I have it in my live file. So when I give you next month's file, you'll see there's an
Okay.
adjustment out there for, I think it was like $14,000 or something like that.
Okay.
But you may see them go down. Like, for example, if they change benefits and they go from a family
Right.
down. Actually, I think that's what happened on this one. The other one is actually a little bit higher, so.
Okay.
And that's an assumption. Anytime we do a budget, it's really, we're making a lot of predictions, and things could change, anything from cyber charter school to the rising costs by the time we get ready to do our finality budget. Special education is another area that could, it's based upon the needs of a student rather than, a particular, is there enough funds to be able to support that student? It's needs-based versus price-based. You know, you try to look at what programs are in-house first and what programs, and we have that continuity of services, but sometimes those services are greater, so it requires some services outside of the district. So all those things, you know, are played in when you look at a budget, and really it's the best prediction model that we can do as we forecast for the next school year, trying to look at a lot of unpredictable areas that occur. A lot like a weather forecast. You're trying to forecast based upon trends and information that you have. All right, we'll go into 1350. Technical education. We have a technical education program at the middle school and at the high school. We have single teacher programs at both the middle school and at the high school. You'll see some supplies at the middle school. Some supplies at the high school. In the totality. We're proud to say that some of the lumber that came from the bleachers is being used in both of our programs at the middle school and at the high school. They're able to take that pine and run it through the planer and use some projects on it. Any questions on 1350, technical education? All right, moving ahead. We're proud to have a business education program here at the high school. It serves many different electives for our students. And some basic supplies listed under the categories that you'll see under business education 1360.
One teacher or two teachers? That's why she moved closer to you, so she could get personal assistance.
All right, 2120. School guidance. School guidance at the elementary. There are two elementary school counselors. Dues and fees at the elementary school. Supplies and guidance at the elementary school. Salaries and benefits, the middle school counselors. There are two counselors at the middle school as well.
But the amount is like,
Oh.
did we a whole lot, or was that in a different category?
Well, I think some of the items in 32, when it came to items for school store and some of the pouches, I think some of those items were placed before, I believe, if I remember correctly, we had a conversation last year. I want to say they were under principal's office last year, if I remember correctly. I'd have to take a historic look, but I remember us having that conversation where I think when we talked about the Blackhawk bucks, I believe those were under the principal's office. And some of those items are still under PBIS rewards, but here for the Blackhawk bucks in the student store, I believe they were moved from principal's office to here, if I'm correct in saying that. That can be fact checked. Yeah, separate from the two. To solidify under that one category under school counselor for positive behavioral support.
And while we're talking about moves like that, so in the past, we did like a lot of expense and revenue netting, whereas now you might see expenses that weren't expenses before, because we want to recognize the expense, and then we're going to offset it with the increased revenue. Yeah, so.
Looking at some supplies, middle school. You'll see some junior academy supplies, BizTown.
I'll just keep yelling. So the professional development for the conferences, but there's nothing budgeted in there for the guidance. Does that need to have something budgeted for it?
There was no request at this time, to
Okay.
our knowledge, that they've made.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. The question was under professional development for middle school. No conferences were requested at this time. And sometimes those sometimes those go in cycles, as maybe you've attended for a year or two and you want to take a year off, or it's a rotation. So to our knowledge, there's nothing that was budgeted at this time. Some assemblies, in the event that the assembly would be needed based upon current topics, that's available there as well. Dues, membership, and fees for middle school. A lot of good support from some of these professional memberships. Looking at high school, the guidance program at the high school. And some supplies for high school. Continuing on with the school counseling program, dues, fees, and guidance. Line 233, 238. And just some miscellaneous expenses.
60, I want to once again object. I've done this before. Who do we do the yearbook through? Is it Johnston's? Who did we switch to? And who did we have before? I think we need to tell them, if you expect us to have our yearbook printed through you, then you need to give us one. Like, for us as a district to have to budget $80 to buy a yearbook, so we have one in our library, is just ridiculous. But again, I'm just gonna, on the record, just say, if we are spending this much money on a yearbook, this company could at least give the district one for the library. But that's just my little
So-
pet peeve. I think that's just ridiculous.
So actually, the yearbook should probably be a budget under my office, because we collect one and archive those in the event that there's a particular need, emergency situation.
That should be free. so much.
Certainly, I think that's something we can visit with those as well. I like it. All right. We have completed guidance.
Okay.
I don't know if it falls under instruction or not.
So 2130, attendance? $22.50, library? Elementary school?
Not there yet.
Sorry, 2250 library, you'll see librarian, salaries and benefits, supplies. Some books and printed material. You'll see some miscellaneous books by topic as they rotate through.
What was the big jump? I did ask a question. I was mumbling over here. Middle school library supplies? There was a pretty big jump. What was it? What was it again? 19?
Six-person listening center.
No, middle school.
Oh, you're ahead? You're on the middle school?
I don't know, maybe, yeah, maybe I did.
$1,000.
Is that what it is? How are we paying $1,000 in shipping? What are we paying it for? But like, I mean, for what though? Can we? Can we buy these games all at once and hit the free shipping threshold?
Could we get a van?
Sometimes, and
Yeah.
sometimes when they're out of stock, then you go to the next shipping.
Yeah, just,
What is it 10% of also? Because
yeah. That's of $10,000. Maybe that's a zero issue.
And this is why we go through this fruition of exercise, because sometimes when you're adding in thousands of lines, things have tendency to.
Corrected for next.
Deficit of two.
All right, taking a look at books and printed material into high school, some supplies here as well, some general supplies, some basic.
I see that we have like the librarian done as a half salary. And just thinking back to that fax teacher, would it make sense to have that listed as a half, if, because they're in two different departments? Or no?
So the difference between the two, so this is a librarian that's split between two schools, I believe.
Yes.
So it's still the same functional area, 2250. The problem with the other one is you're crossing two functions. And within CSIU, you're basically labeled to one function. So even though the library is split two into the budget, her whole salary is going into one or
In
the
one
other in
function.
actuality.
Okay.
So I'm not saying we couldn't take that other teacher and say, okay, well, you're going to be here for 6 months, your salary's going to go here, and then we're going to recode you in the second half of the
Yeah,
year to go here. It
yeah.
could be done, but typically we just, from an actual perspective, keep them in the same code the whole year.
That's fine.
Did she also teach social studies?
Then let's split her three ways. Right.
And she does a really good job. All right.
Are we?
$2260, curriculum and instruction. Please notice that under 2260, you'll see Director of Special Education. Due to the charts of accounts, the Director of Special Education needs to be coded under curriculum and instruction, not under special education.
Is the the big increase in the curriculum writing, does that have to do with our presentation the other day too regarding ELA, or the reading program for is that what the big?
So the curriculum? So the curriculum writing? Oh, yeah, sorry, I was down on.
Okay,
Teacher salaries to write the appropriate new math curriculum that was discussed at the meeting I missed.
I don't think new math, it was English, reading.
Reading, my bad.
ELA.
Okay, yeah, okay.
All right, we'll go to, yep, we can go back.
Early birds.
Yep.
Is not budgeted, well, at least the supplies are not budgeted for
Program is not. Correct.
27. Does that mean we're not?
So that was
I
it.
did, I wasn't here.
That was the thought of taking a pause from that program.
Okay.
Doing some work as well of trying to collect, also trying to, and I'll be totally transparent, yes, trying to be mindful of some budgetary costs. While it is 7,500, it's 7,500 for 4 days. And trying to take a look at that and what that total cost is and how can we do some things differently. The teachers did an incredible job, they really did, and the director did an incredible job of the program as well. But we did previously have some, not last year, but the year before, we had some ESSERs, and that was part of ESSERs to be able to support this ongoing summer slide and learning that occurred during those times, and we were able to use that. And we're hopeful in the future, maybe there are going to be additional grants or opportunities to be able to apply for to make these programs still free and not a general fund budgetary item. Or seeing if there's other organizations we can partner with.
So I had 2 questions. One, Project Lead the Way, is that still in the offing? Is that still a vision of something that we hope to implement at some point?
Yeah, we just have the yearly cost rounds
Perfect, perfect. And then what is the expanding classroom size? Oh, perfect. Oh, yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, if we could, let's take a look at 2270, staff development. 2270? 2270, you'll see just some presenters for professional learning, keeping that number in line. In the event, as we continue, there could be the need as we continue for structure and literacy, as well as any other additional presenters that we may want to bring in, or consultants to be able to help us. Conferences and attendees, as well as, those are the two categories in this particular area.
Well, like right above, or no, it was I guess it was the last slide, curriculum development. Oh, we'll go back. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's only salary and benefits that have to be coded under curriculum and instruction. $2380, Office of the Principals. You'll see some salaries and benefits, elementary school, excuse me, elementary school supplies. And typically, when we say supplies, we're talking about the totality of the office as well. Here you'll see line 90, and we talked about that a little bit as well in kindergarten registration, ensuring that some of our students have, when they register for kindergarten, that they do have some books that are available for them, to partner with the parents and guardians to do some of that early literacy and to be able to read and identify some of those early word development. Some miscellaneous expenses, elementary school. Line number 101 is for me when I come down. I need some snacks. No, just teasing. That's not funny, actually. Sorry.
You better budget more than that.
Ice cream from nutrition. That's ice cream from our food service provider here.
Why isn't it a zero then? Shouldn't that be free if it's coming from them?
Well, that's who we.
Yeah, I know.
We have middle school supplies.
So, Jason, 160 has PBIS student rewards of $3,000. Is that a number that should be not in there now because that was, I'm sorry. Where'd you say the number moved or was supposed to, was it supposed to? But I thought the counselor number went up really a lot.
So,
So does the elementary line low, was there nothing in the elementary line? Like, I guess my point is, yeah, like, did we move it out of elementary? I guess is my question. I thought, I misunderstood. I thought,
yes, elementary's down 5,000 for supplies because they moved to guidance, or, I'm sorry, school counseling.
yeah, but, and what number is school counseling? Guidance, is that 2120? Thought that number went up a lot. Okay, I thought it was more than that, okay. Guidance. I don't know where I saw it.
Oops, I'm sorry, some dues and fees? And some miscellaneous expenses.
Do we budget for, like, the stage, since we are doing this outside for graduation?
Yes, I think that's what we were just kind of having a conversation about. So I believe that is going to be line number 253, graduation costs.
Because it's fine with me, but down below, the graduation costs are broken out by like flowers, your commencement flowers, you know,
Graduation programs up above.
right. So I guess the graduation cost there is, well, not a tent, is it? It's like this, it's the stage, I guess? $5,000 for that stage? Wow. Just get a couple semis to park out there and just put a tarp on them. Yeah, yeah. So much for the turf. Are we allowed to set off fireworks inside the forum?
Pupil Services, 2420. Taking a look at overall here at 2420 Pupil Services. That's correct. We currently, right now, one of the requirements is to ensure that there's a certified school nurse throughout. So it's the anticipation of looking for a certified school nurse and still having the ideas of an LPN who can support all three buildings. And that would certainly be the goal of moving forward if we can find a certified school nurse. We have incredible nursing talent right now. We're fortunate on all three buildings. But then having that ability to still have, you know, that LPN to be able to support field trips, absences, heavy loads, et cetera. And right now, we are utilizing a staffing agency to help support some of that, but we would like to still bring everything certainly in-house the most that we can.
I'm going to have a talk with Amanda, because why did the supplies in the school nurse's office go up $6,000?
Well, I think one of the supplies is a piece of equipment, if that's the right,
Vision screen.
yeah.
Is that what it is? Okay. because I don't have the line, the side by side to see that.
All right, if everybody is okay, we will move ahead to the next category.
Student activities, 3210.
Ooh. So the 3210, we have categories here for co-curricular positions that are outlined under the current collective bargaining agreement. We have categories 12 through 20, some repairs and maintenance, band and choir. '26 through 34, band and choir trips. '40 through 44, postage. Some travel involving some conferences. The Pennsylvania Music Educators Association State Conference. And some supplies for band and choir, including replacement reeds, valve oil, percussion equipment, and some replacements.
So I know I talked to you guys a little bit about, so if you looked at line 106, 107, I know at one point the winter play and the spring musical were in, then they were out. I'm requesting, I'm working really hard with the theater groups to really treat them more like an athletic team, kind of, where, you know, I think we should put in a supply budget for them. And then if they want anything above and beyond that, that's where the boosters would kind of like kick in and get them, you know, the extras that, you know, weren't covered by the general fund budget. So I have a placeholder in there right now, you know, for $15,000. You know, I don't know how accurate that is. I just said we'll put a placeholder in there this year so we can start tracking a little bit more through the school district, you know, how many actual costs kind of come through, to see whether that's a good number or not. And then obviously you'll see a revenue offset on the other side, you know, so we can have that tracking mechanism as well, so.
Well, there, a couple things. I appreciate you bringing that up. And I know at some point we're going to talk fiduciary. I know that's a big lift, and probably now is not the time to talk about it. But so when you said a revenue offset on the other side, are you talking about ticket sales, those types of things?
Correct.
Because I would be interesting to know. Let me formulate my thoughts here. It'd be interesting to know what they make in ticket sales. Like if they make $15,000 in ticket sales and we're only giving them $10,000, that just seems inappropriate, you know? And it also is just odd to me, like, I like this idea because then if the director needs something and they know they have this much money and they know there's much money, I think the way it is currently, if the director needs something, they have to ask permission every single time they get something. So I like the idea that they have a certain amount, and I think that somehow should be their ticket sales plus, I think, what we budget. You know, because then if they have an incentive to get more ticket sales, to promote, to publicize, which means they're going to have a fiduciary account that's going to have some money in it, so that's going to allow them to do a bigger, better, more robust, you know what I mean? So this whole thing is just a bigger conversation. I like what you're doing here. I think it's a great idea, but I'd like to see them operate differently, and they probably would too.
Yeah, no, and I've had many conversations with them, and I think we're kind of on board with where we're going here. So, yeah, the revenue estimate, I mean, obviously every year is different, you know, between the winter play and the musicals, right around $15,000. So this is the $15,000 expense category. Now, this is the $15,000 expense, not that's excluded from the co-curricular salaries, which
Yeah.
are up above. So these are you know,
But
this
we're-
is for all the extras they need, their building sets, the cost of the license and.
Yeah.
But
and
what
all
I
that
hear
stuff.
you saying is they basically bring in $15,000, is that what you're saying?
Approximately, yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
a
and I
ballpark.
think it would, I'm not so sure it wouldn't behoove us to actually budget money beyond what they bring in. You know what I mean? Like, that the district is, you know, that the taxpayers are contributing. We contribute to all the athletic events and everything else, so if the taxpayers are paying X amount of money toward our theater programs, not, we'll give you what you make. You know what I mean? There's gotta be an equity thing in there somewhere. I think it's worthy of a bigger conversation at some point.
Yeah, and that's fine, I can put whatever you guys
I'm
propose
fine-
in
I'm
there.
fine with this.
but
I'm just-
Don't forget the co-curriculars up above as well, so.
Well, and that's
the
that's salaries
So that
and
would be
things,
like your
for sure.
coaches and stuff like that in comparison to athletics. So this
Right.
would be comparable to like what a supply, I guess, budget would be per se.
I think to where my, think where there's not an apples, well, there'll never be, in the broad scheme, it's an apples to apples, right? Because I like what you're doing with regard to the sports and bringing in the revenue. But even in sports, you don't have the revenue offsetting the cost of that program. Like for some, I mean, like maybe, I don't know if football does, or if football brings in more than the cost of the program, right? And like even field hockey doesn't bring in enough, maybe enough revenue. Maybe this year they might have, did they? Bring in enough revenue to offset all the cost of coach, your salary or whatever, right?
All the costs including coaches or excluding
Well,
coaches?
no, I
'Cause
guess that
this
you
is
would have to
excluding
excluding the coach, yeah.
Coaches, so
But
do they
like-
offset the refs and the supplies? I mean,
Maybe, I don't know,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
so, and then like
maybe
you have the
fairly
sports that
close,
we
I don't know. We
we're
don't-
not charging at all for, right? Now,
we're going to, starting in the spring here.
okay.
Yeah, so.
So then I guess the other question then, in terms of what their boosters would offset with, so that if they have to play and they have the concession, or they're selling flowers, or they're doing that, that's all going into their booster account, not coming into the school.
Correct. So yeah, any of their advertising for their programs goes
Yeah,
to them.
to
Any
them,
of their
okay.
flowers or concession stand will go to them. So
Yeah.
again, I'm covering them for this year, you know, through the fiduciary and stuff. But hopefully next year we can, you know.
And can we provide them grace in this number that if they go over it, we're not gonna tell them, sorry, you can't, you only have $10,000 budgeted, since we're kind of in that growing phase of this transition?
So doing that, we don't want,
Right,
so I
right.
think so maybe at this point, what we're hearing is, do we want to increase it a little bit and saying and showcasing a budget rather than, it has to be a hard number. If you want to increase that hard number, then we're okay with that.
I think this number is fine. I think it sounds like it's much in line with what we've done in the past, because you said in the past they brought in so much with, but I think this whole thing is worthy of a conversation, a much bigger conversation we all need to have. Because like, you know, we're not going to tell the football players, you can't have your helmets reconditioned because you didn't make enough money and revenue from people coming to the football game. And I don't think it's fair to say to the kids, you can't purchase Mamma Mia because you didn't make enough money in ticket sales. You'll have to get a cheaper play this year, you know, or whatever. So it's a bigger conversation that we can have at another point. And I know we all have those thoughts in our mind. But I'm very, very happy we're discussing it. I think we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, and along with the revenue from the ticket sales, we've looked over the last 3 to 4 years on how much extra they spent on supplies, and this 15,000 is right in the middle of that. So I
Okay,
mean,
then let's
it's
just-
not
And
like
I-
this is very low ball, but it also isn't like, oh, well, now you
No,
can
I-
do Aladdin
that's what
or
you
whatever
said.
a costly
But-
play is. I don't even know.
But we're not, like, sports aren't a charitable activity that the district does, and neither is our drama department, and we should be running them similarly, proportionately investing the same thing in sports as we are into our drama program, and that's the point, and so.
I agree totally, and that's what this is
It's not like
trying
every
to
time
do.
the football coach needs a new football, he has to go and ask permission, may I buy a football? He knows how much money he has to get a football. Currently, the drama people have to say, I need 5 2x4s. Can you give me money for 5 2x4s? And they don't know unless it's approved or not. And I think there needs to be, is that not right?
That's not accurate. No, at the beginning of each theater season, I give each
Yes.
This is the estimate for costumes, this is estimate. If they go above that, then they need to come and ask for that. But like, say that there was like $3,000 or something, okay, yeah, that's your budget.
Oh, so that's a change, I think, maybe, or maybe not. But at least this way, they don't even have to do that necessarily. At least this way, they know they have $10,000, figure it out, and if you need more than that, let us know. But, you know, so, okay.
But
Well, I appreciate that clarification. So it's, yeah.
But I mean, and I think this is a great idea, but I also think in fairness, our sports are given, here's your supply budget for the year, and they have to, our coaches have to stay within that. They're not allowed to come back and say, well, okay, now I want this extra thing. What my understanding is that then goes through Mr. Markowitz, and it's like, that's your supply budget for this year. And some of those sports share between middle school and high school. And so it's, here's your amount, and can you work within that amount? And if they can't do it within that amount, then that's when they're going to their boosters. And so I think it would be great for theater to also have boosters.
Yes.
But it not having this, well, one program gets willy-nilly and the others are held to. I think it does need to be uniform across. If we're going to do it we're going to do it for everyone.
No, I totally agree with that, except it is not correct, the first part that you said is, because at least I can't say for sure Markowitz, but I know Quiggs used to borrow, he would budget like $2,500 for supplies for each sport. And we're like, why do you need $2,500 for this sport versus $2,500 for this sport? And I think Quiggs just kind of put it all together and got people kind of what they wanted. It was a little willy-nilly. Yeah, it was. So it wasn't quite like baseball. You have this, football. You have this. But that's okay. But whatever we do, I think you're absolutely right. I think we need to do consistent. And I like the idea. I think the musical people are putting together like a booster organization, and that's the whole concept of the whole fiduciaries, which is one of our district goals this year, is to kind of get these fiduciary things working together. But I think you're absolutely right. I think we need to be consistent, and even with the way we do athletics. So I don't know. We'll just pinpoint this it's going to be another big discussion probably, because it's not an easy solution, nor one we'll probably all agree on.
Yeah, and I commend Jason for tackling certainly this Herculean task of looking at things differently and, making sure that as there is an expense and then there is revenue, and how is that codified differently, and how does this play well, in terms of fiduciaries, in terms of the audit and the audit reports. And it's a good practice, as we involve students into this, as well as, we look at maybe in the future, again, if there's a particular musical or selection that does cost a little bit more and has a little bit more components, and you're looking at that for the 27-28 school year, then what was 10,000 now becomes 19,000. And then in the future, all right, well, we did do a 19, we might need to do a little less one next year. And kind of doing those things back and forth to plan for that a couple years, in advance.
And the difference too is if they have a fiduciary, and I'm not necessarily talking about a, what's the budget, the parent group, what's it called, boosters, but a fiduciary account, then maybe 1 year they do like Peter Pan, and they have, because we like that. It's friendly. You get a lot of children in. You can make a lot of money. And so they know they have that much money. So the next year, maybe they could do like Sweeney Todd or something, where they know like not too many people are going to come, but it's really artsy and we want to do it. And they can afford to do a show that's going to attract, it's going to be more challenging, but it attract a smaller audience, because they have that money in their fiduciary, knowing next year we need to do a Cinderella or something that's going to bring in more funds. If it's a fiduciary, then they can play around a little bit with that and not necessarily be held accountable, to things.
So the way I structured it is I want them to run through the general fund. I want them to plan ahead to know what might cost more, might not bring in as much revenue. I took the fiduciary label off of them because we're trying to create the fiduciaries to be strictly student-run, with leaders named for each of the fiduciaries. So I pulled them away from the fiduciary and, run them through the general fund, so that way hopefully they can kind of plan ahead to know what might cost more, what might not bring in as much revenue, so they can communicate that with me.
It's worthy of a future conversation, because some productions are going to cost more money than other productions. And if they have no way of planning for a production a year or two down the road, knowing the talent they have or whatever, and knowing it's going to cost more, and it's just $10,000 every year, it's not like they can count on the school board to give them $5,000 more this year, $3,000 more last year. So if they don't have a way to save money for knowing a future production is going to cost more money or less money based on the set, based on things, then that's really, I think that's difficult, which is why I would tend to go with fiduciary, which as far as I know is maybe the only way they do that. And then so be it. It would have to be student organized. The students would have to vote. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having the students have a vote and a say in some of that. But again, it's a big discussion down the road. But if they want to plan for 2 years, we're going to do this giant production, if they have no control over being able to put more money in, and they just have to rely on the board every year to decide if we're willing to give them more or less money, I don't
Saying
think
that
that's a
they
problem.
can plan?
They can if they have a fiduciary.
No, but what if they didn't have a fiduciary? What if, well, I meant.
Well, then they
No,
can't.
let's back up. Can they plan, because the first thing I heard you say was they won't know what production they might want to get because they don't know the talent pool that they have, right? But then you said, but if they want to plan ahead, they can't plan ahead. And
Not
I
if
think-
they know the budget is the school district's going to give them
wait.
$10,000
No,
every
that's
year.
not, let me finish.
Oh,
If
sorry.
they can plan ahead, if you're saying they can plan ahead, I think what I'm hearing from Jason is that if they want to plan ahead and know a year from now that next year they want to do a $19,000 thing, they can just put that request in, just like every other section of this budget can increase for this purpose.
But that's my point. Like, they only do that at the mercy of the school board.
Yeah, but, okay, yeah, I guess, but the reality is, we're not going to deny them that. Just like we don't deny,
Oh,
we
I
haven't,
don't know if that's.
well, I
don't
mean,
know
we
if
haven't really
that's-
denied anything here that anybody has wanted to increase. I mean, there's been significant increases of
I'm-
$5,000-$6,000.
I understand. But the reality is they have to, they're at our mercy versus they're able to use their money how they want in order to do whatever productions they
But
want.
nobody
you know?
else in this whole school district gets to do that, gets to use their money. No, none of the sports teams get to do that. They
Well,
can't
all
use
the
their money. how they
fiduciary
want.
accounts do.
Who else has one, other than the school has, each school has a fiduciary?
I don't know.
But
Can
no
you speak to that,
organization
Mr.
does.
Funk? But they absolutely, the fiduciaries do. The student fiduciary, what's it called? But the account that you have.
Here, a lot of our clubs
Yeah, there we go, yeah.
have fiduciary.
Yeah.
They're like a club, this isn't the drama club, this is a function of the school that we. I see the similarity there.
And I don't, I don't, but no, we, can- again, it's a bigger discussion. But I know sometimes the student activities account has sat with like $30,000 in it. Because we used to get like giant A+ money, we would get this, we would get that, and they would all just go into the student activities fiduciary account. And then that's the only way you can kind of save money. And then then it's like, oh, hey, will the school board pay $300 for a tent for homecoming? We're like, no, use that account for that. Or, you know what I mean? It's a conversation. I don't think it can run. I don't think that, personally, I don't
Guessing-
think it should run the same way athletics does because it is very different.
But I guess maybe is now the time to have the discussion, because we're doing it now, we're changing the budget. Maybe
Oh,
this is
yeah,
the
I
time.
think what he's doing now is very appropriate, and we're moving a little closer because we're giving them this amount of money based on what it normally is, understanding maybe we definitely need to have the conversation. But it's very different because with a sporting event, you know how many basketball games you're going to have. You know basically the costs for the sporting event, and the uniforms and everything is pretty much going to be about the same every year. But with the production of an event and the building of a set and buying things, that can fluctuate greatly every year. And if they don't have the flexibility for that, then they're just going,
Could we put that on like a 5-year cycle, like we do with sports and replacing uniforms? Every 5 years, we do a Peter Pan, and then we can plan it out so you know what the cost is going to be and have that.
I like the idea of a boosters organization and a fiduciary, and then they can kind of figure, we probably could, but I like the idea of them having that freedom to plan for that accordingly or whatever, and maybe one year they just do a minimal set with just a desk and a chair and projections in the back, knowing the next year they're going to build a castle.
But I guess I guess I don't understand, maybe, and we're kind of belaboring this because, we wanted to stay here longer tonight. But.
Like I said, it's a big
yeah,
conversation
I guess-
another time.
And maybe we ask them.
Absolutely, we ask them, and I haven't.
Yeah,
Ask who?
the theater people that do
I
that.
do
Right,
know
but
other
I guess-
school
I guess
districts
what I'm-
do it the way, some other school districts do it the way I'm suggesting, some don't. Anyway, Leanne, go ahead.
No, I was just, no, I wasn't, if I made an eye roll or a weird face, there was nothing intended.
No, you said anyway, and then you
Yeah, no, I
coughed.
was thinking about what I was going to say, actually. I guess I don't understand, I'm trying to equate about where there might be a similar situation with athletics, and there isn't a fiduciary for them to go to, right? Like, so if for some reason they want to go to, track wants to go to this invitational they've never done before, they want to take, kids to do something, that they can't go to a fiduciary for this one time and ask for that. They've got to do it through the boosters, or the kids pay their own way, or whatever. And I guess I don't understand why there would be a third place for the drama thing to get money from.
Because you can't equate the two. Like, if you are the football team or whatever, you have all of your games and you have all of your concessions at every home game. Musical is like 3 nights, and I just think to expect them, I don't know. I do think it's different.
And-
But bottom line is, I applaud Jason and all of us for having the conversation, because I think what he's proposing now is a good way to get started. And I just think it's a conversation that we can continue to have bigger as we move toward this, one of our financial goals, which is figuring out this fiduciary thing. But I don't think you can equate it at all.
Well, and I think we have to be really careful that, because I think we've seen this in a couple of these meetings, that seems like sports gets synonymous with football. Like, everything gets, no, wait, let me, like it gets compared to that. So, football has this and they have all this attendance and everything else, but I think you could almost more equate it to track and field, because there's only like 3 or 4 home meets. They don't have a lot of time to bring in. They had no revenue in terms of ticket sales at all. And there's quite a bit of cost goes on in putting on track and field.
And is my point. The amount of money the district gives track and field has nothing to do with the amount of ticket sales they make. But the musical and the play will. But I'm just, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to equate any of that.
Well, and I think they just said then, if you think that we want to increase that number now above what the ticket sales are, then we do it. I think Jason just used that as the first drop-in point, but if we think we want to make it
Yeah, I have no
higher,
idea. I really
then we
don't.
could do that.
I don't know how much they spend now. I don't know how much they spent last year, or the year before. Maybe nobody.
That's how I came up to this number, the expense. I looked at what they spent
It
over
wasn't
the
the
last
income.
5 years.
What they
It just
spent?
happens to align with what the
What
income
they brought
was.
in.
Yeah,
We looked at their income and their
Correct,
expense,
yes.
and we're finding where they are.
yep.
And frankly, I would like them to be able to spend more money. I mean, having helped them to build sets and seeing what they have and how many parents are,
Well, then
you
do
know,
we
donating hundreds of
I mean,
dollars worth of 2x4s.
You know way more
and-
about this than we do. Do you think, given what Jason said, that this number represents what they've been spending, and it's almost aligning with what they're bringing in revenue-wise, but what other stuff like parents are doing or something like that, then do we want to make it higher?
I know that they, and Craig probably could say this too, I mean, they're using scrap wood and everything. I mean, they're really on a shoestring budget. However, that doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, we're not going to be Cumberland Valley, I mean, it has to be appropriate. I don't necessarily know what is appropriate, but what I know is, that I'm sure they could use more money, but everyone could, so I agree, Amy was correct. A conversation with them is good. And what I'm hearing, with the theater people, and what I'm hearing is maybe we do need to increase it. I don't know, So it's, all the costumes and stuff that I forget her name right now that she makes. I wonder, I think they just recycle a lot. People give stuff a lot, which is fantastic. But it would be nice that maybe they had a little more of a budget for that. But that's all. It's a bigger discussion. But
Kendall.
Kendall Wilt,
Oh,
yes.
there you go.
Lovely lady. $200,000 to the theater program would be fine.
I mean, honestly, it's. That number is a number that was used from looking at historical expenses. And if you want to increase that number, we can certainly increase that number.
I think it's a great starting point, and we'll collect some data and we'll go from
Yeah, I
there.
mean, I will disclose, they said and they requested 20,000, but they were basing it off of they're gonna have a bigger production this year. I said, well, this is for next year. So, I mean, it's very easy to change that to 20 instead of 15. I mean, that's what they requested, but I do know we're squeezing other people, so
I'd
but
just
it's
like
up to
them
you
to have
guys.
maybe a little more accountability and a little more freedom so that the budgeted amount from the board is pretty much consistent every year. And if they know they want 20,000 next year, that they have a way to secure that money. And maybe it is just totally through boosters, or maybe it's through a fiduciary, so that they know this is roughly what the board's committed to. And if you know you're gonna have a more expensive production, then you know you can do that, but through this process. So it's an accountability for them and a planning for them in figuring that out, and them knowing this is how much the district's is going to be giving you. I just like that. I don't know how, maybe it is through all boosters, but boosters
that
is
20?
all parent-led, and that concerns me a little bit.
Is
But
that
I-
20,000 for this spring's production that they were, or is it this year? Would not have impacted this one, okay.
So I said I was gonna put in 15, because that's what the prior 5 years have been, so.
Was 20 for both productions, or was 20, oh, okay,
I combine them, I try to split them out here, but I don't know what each one is.
Yeah,
Just put
yeah.
5. I can do 15 and 5, and.
Maybe they shouldn't be, maybe they shouldn't, it's not the same directors, it's not the same people. So maybe they shouldn't be together.
So it sounds to me like starting at the 15, and the theater, whoever, is going to put the budget request in each year. Every January, when we go through this process, would put in the budget request. And if they are planning that for the following year, they're going to do a bigger production, they would put in a budget request for an increase and be able to give the justification, just like any other program, division, teacher, principal, anybody else. So,
You're right.
as long as they're not doing Sweeney Todd, I'd be
Yeah.
like, okay, no kidding.
I'm not advocating for. I think Susquehanna Township did that a number of years ago. I don't think it went well.
All right, taking a look at some books and printed material for band and choir. Lines 146 to 152.
I have a question. What's the 25 selections for approximate, is that? Huh?
I was gonna ask that.
What is that? Like for approximately 60 students? Is that? I just don't know what that is.
Is that the middle school one, I believe?
No, band choir material.
Yeah, but it could be middle school or high school.
Is it like,
Pieces of music, I believe.
$73 a piece.
Yeah, 25 selects, so basically, if they're looking at 25 different songs for the school year, like the concerts and the shows they do.
Okay.
And there's,
60 copies of each.
Chorus and West Side, really is about $295 per selection, but the sheet music.
Okay.
for chorus,
Okay, that makes sense.
that's
So
not
it's,
cheap anymore.
yeah, no, so it's 25 different songs
For
times 60 kids. Okay, so, yeah, that makes it make sense as to.
Yeah, just why, like, what have they been doing up until now, though? Like, why is it just this purchase of all of them now? Seems weird.
I'm not sure where it was last year, but we had ordered sheet music
Gold star, Marcy, if you find it.
I'll have it in front of me. Is that something that would make sense? Do they order new sheet music every year like that?
They do recycle some, but yeah, sometimes they can pull from past file, but yeah, they do try to do new selection.
Do new select, okay, yeah, that, I mean, I was in the band, it makes sense. I was in,
Wait, what are we on?
Books and printed materials as
What
well.
did he say about Maddox? Oh, why are we buying him a dress? Yeah, why you put him over there?
Do you need a drink?
What?
Do you need a drink?
No, I'm good.
9. 9?
I tried for 8, they told me 9.
Are we done with student activities? We done with student? I'll just increase the revenue to offset it, so that way it doesn't change. Huh?
Marcy's like, wait, who said, Marcy just said, wait, who said we agree with that? Maybe we have to open up the discussion again.
Are we okay with 20? I mean, it's year one. We'll monitor it.
increase all the sports $5,000?
Well,
Some of those are. I think that's a really good threshold to look at, to see and to adapt the budget based upon where they're at, collect that data, see what adjustments come in.
Sold. Well, halfway in between.
What's the next tab?
All right, so that's the end of the instruction, or I guess what I labeled instruction. So now we'll start going through some of the orange tabs, which are kind of the miscellaneous tabs. I mean,
Aren't you glad we're gonna do it?
if you don't want to, if not, we just got to do it next week or the following week or the week after that, or. So. Well, that'll be after it. All right, so we'll go to the first orange tab, 1370, that's VOTEC. Some of these will go pretty quickly. Oh, I guess I gotta switch it on here, sorry.
1370 is our contribution to Cumberland Perry Area Career and Technical Center tuition budget, which was already pre-approved. That represents, I believe it was a 5.3% increase to the overall general operating budget as for our participation as a contributing member in accordance to the Articles of Agreement.
Should we change the title of that tab from
So unfortunately, in the charts of accounts haven't updated it, but the PA school code, I believe, has updated it to Cumberland Perry Area Career and Technical Center. So if 1370 in the charts of accounts is representative of career and technical education, we'll change 1370 to represent career and technical education, which represents the appropriate terminology used in the school code.
Just like how guidance is,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All right, adult education, 1690.
As a member in contribution to Harrisburg Area Community College, and I do want to make a statement here. If any of our residents bring in, you can get a HAC residency certificate, which does give you a smaller amount on your tuition. So anybody taking classes at Harrisburg Area Community College and is a resident here can go online, file an application, and we will issue a residency certificate to get a reduction in your credits for either an associate's or any of their certificate programs, which they have many. So being a member of HAC as part of its founding, so there's a couple ways that a community college can be founded. It could be founded by local school districts, and we're a member of how it was first created. And due to our responsibility, that's our payment.
All right, 2160, social work.
Sure, 2160, we do not currently have our own social worker here within the district. We would certainly love to, but we contract with the CAIU, and we do add a little bit of revenue from, or historically we have from grants. And this year we're looking to add an offset, a little bit of that, roughly around $53,000 from the Pennsylvania Commission of Crime and Delinquency's Safe Schools grant. And the remaining portion of that is represented to the general budget. And this would be for social work services through the IU, and having that continuity of services. We're fortunate, we have an incredible social worker who comes here from the IU. She does an incredible job. Would absolutely, I will prolifically say, would love to hire her on ourselves. But for right now, this is the payment from the CAIU. I'm sorry?
Why the big increase, though?
So again, I think this is one of those categories where it was sort of netted, where a portion of
Yep.
it was over, and this was just kind of the remaining balance, whereas now I'm saying, okay, this
Yep.
is how much it cost in full. The revenue offset is over in revenue. So
Oh,
it was just the
okay.
way it was accounted
Okay.
for in the past versus, we're trying to, better align things.
Okay.
All right, school library, 2250.
We did do that one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at orange. Tuition reimbursement, 2271.
Sure. Tuition reimbursement, we try to speculate, looking at historical trends, try to look at those who are applying for credits and programs, and we try to make any adjustments necessary, and this is based on collective bargaining agreement. You have tuition reimbursement for certified staff, as well as the next category, which is staff professional development, which could be anything that we ask somebody to do or they seek out for that continuation of learning.
So is this, I guess, did you even try to adjust it with the new CBA at all? Because I know that was there's a lot of people are grandfathered in.
Yeah, no,
To
I
the old one
I
or
did
no?
not. The reason
Okay.
this went down is I think it was over budget in the past. I actually looked at actuals over the last couple of years and
Okay.
realigned it with that, but it didn't take into account any potential
Okay, good. I think
change
that's
in the
probably wise,
CBA
yeah.
Be a
Till we,
challenge.
till we get a little
Yeah.
more history, and I'll
Okay.
adjust this more to, actual run rates. 2310, board services.
Sure. 2310 board services, we have advertising, we try to keep around the same, and being a part of the Sunshine Act and fair and openness, we have to make sure that all our public notices are advertised, and that comes from there. And when we say public notices, it's board meetings, any special board meetings, Anytime that there is a notice for, such as our guaranteed energy savings, that comes as an advertisement, has to be posted within X amount of time as well, and you typically pay per word, and you pay for each message. So that comes, those legal notices.
The budget goes out there as well, right?
The budget notices go out there as well, absolutely, yeah, that's a good point. Board retreat, so I put that in there, if we ever wanted to do some activities together, we have in the past, and I think it's definitely, something that can be good. And it gives us that placeholder. We can bring in some experts to help when we goal set, do some work together, or any professional learning that we might want to do together as well. Board members travel.
Can I just comment on the board retreat? If that's something we want to do, I suggest that we start thinking about that in like February and come up with a date and plan, so that it's something we can do if it's something we really want to do.
Absolutely.
Jason, you see those there? Line 11 should say.
Master file.
Just some board services there. Our dues for our policies, to maintain our policies, and the service to the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, but more importantly, it does align in its totality to the board agenda program, which is board docs, which allows us to put our agendas out and the information out as well, and collect those information as well as the minutes.
Tax collector?
Absolutely. Tax collection 2330. You'll see Infocom, professional data, tax collection. That is the processing of our bills. Tax collectors. And tax commission. So that is one of those categories, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Browse, if I remember from our earlier conversations, we're going to check my remembrance. That's one of those that we also, before, would do the revenue offset. So we're trying to, that's going to be represented with revenue, but the totality will be represented here and its actual cost. Well, the revenue will be stated in the revenue.
Yeah, we took an estimate, $75,000 last year. We knew it wasn't, we knew they were netting in it past, but it was very difficult at the time quickly to go back and find out how much the commission was attributed to. So this was the actual commission cost related to what they recovered after the fact.
And the continued cost of postage, as you'll see, for mailing those notices and secondary notices. Absolutely. 2350 Legal Services. We're fortunate to have two supportive firms that help through our school district. The first is the Dan Altland Law Firm, and the second is Stock and Leader, which actually is Saxton and Stump now, as it transitioned its name. And that's our special counsel used for primarily special education services, student services, and other areas.
Yeah, and the reason that went down, I think it was budgeted a little bit too high. Plus, last year we had the CBA, which required a lot more of, Dan's time and stuff like that.
And again, that's one of those things where we're trying to do, and Mr. Browse and his team have done an excellent job, and Mr. Medina and Mrs. Welter, Mrs. Feltenberger, to really look at what the expense trends have been and trying to budget a little closer to what those are. That was one of the asks that we had, as are we getting closer and closer and closer to budget versus actual? As much as you can, trying to make a forecast, a year plus in advance without knowing what revenue and support you're going to get from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the federal government.
All right, so I mean, it's up to you guys. We're at the Office of the Superintendent, so would you like to wrap up with that or start with that next time? I think that's a good place to start or stop, so.
Let's do it. Let's just-
Yes.
All
Let's do
right.
it.
How many more do we have left?
This
Of,
is gonna
of
be-
orange ones, I mean, there's probably another 7, 8 tabs or whatever, but we can,
and one of them is athletics, so maybe that wouldn't be a good one to tackle.
well, that one we will probably do week 3.
Yeah.
So,
Well, this is only, it's only.
Office of Super is pretty short.
It's short,
Just,
just do the
we'll,
others.
we'll be out here by 9.
I mean, what are we gonna say? Yes, done. I say done.
2360, all
What are we
right,
gonna
what are we
question?
at here?
2360, Office of the,
Well, we just gave him his contract.
Yeah,
We will find something.
Just look the other direction, you won't have to question anything.
Sure, Amy. Amy's like challenge accepted.
oh, there might be a couple things. Office of the Superintendent. That's right. Office supplies, you'll see $500, generally for the district office in particular. Yes. Yep. EOY, end of the year, the teacher gifts, retirement awards, how are we recognizing some of our staff? So placing that. It was under a different tab, I believe, prior. My goal is to get those Act 45 credits done, hopefully before, I'm working on them. I'm trying to do those in, I'll just be honest, as much cost-effective manner as I can, and taking as many that are offered through PDE SAS when they're available.
That's something you have to do
Every 5 years.
every 5 years.
180 hours every 5 years.
Would it make more sense versus having to just go once to budget a smaller amount and do hours each year to spread it out? I say that as if it's easier said than done.
There's never a good time to get some of these classes done, and I can say some of those are very good. I'm looking forward to this one book study. Some of those are a little difficult, but nevertheless, all of my colleagues here do those as well. So we'll make it work.
But I would rather see if there, I mean, I don't know what everybody else thinks. I'd rather see you put a small amount in there so that if something comes up that you want to go to, then go to it versus not having anything in there. Get some of those hours accumulated. I don't know. I don't know what your cycle is. I don't know how it works. Actually, the only comparison I have is to like my
Yeah.
license renewal where you have X amount of time to get X number of hours.
Yeah. I mean, I'll definitely think about that area and see.
Just to not have it be like,
We could put $500 in there if that appeases the board, or that's okay. And I think for,
We're feeling.
yeah, and I,
Jason's feeling very
500, is that all you want?
yes, sir.
Oh, there's 5,000 now.
I mean,
And you get shot.
I think we're looking at a national convention, we start going 5,000. I mean,
But frankly, if you want to buy a book on leadership, something, throw some money in there for professional learning.
thank you. And the last is Employee Assistance Program. That's what EAP stands for. Prior, it was in a different category, I believe, but it fits nicely under Office of the Superintendent. And it is offered in our collective bargaining agreement. And it is a really good program for all employees and their families.
What about the PA? Why are you out of the PA Association of Rural Schools? The dues and fees.
Oh, my apologies. That should probably be in there as well. I apologize.
Oh, take away $500 for the.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we may want to talk about that 500 to nix that, but Yeah, the PA Association of Rural Schools has been a good organization for us to be in. They do a lot of advocacy for schools throughout the area.
Do I get a second gold star?
You absolutely do.
Money? Yeah.
100%.
Offset my star.
So I
Dr.
just,
Dr. Fox, in your contract, the leadership thing, do you have that in the salary, or does that needs to be put somewhere else in here, maybe under professional development?
yes, perhaps. I'm still exploring what that would look like.
I think we should put it in the budget.
Okay.
Well, what was that?
So it wouldn't be part of salary, benefits now. Yeah, part of my contract is $5,000 for myself to have executive coaching and leadership development through different means to continue to provide for a mentor so I can grow.
I think we can just call that professional development for the superintendent, and that's where you put that extra $500 as well.
Yeah, we can kind of lump that together if that's okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
I like to segregate stuff out. I get in trouble when I lump stuff together. Can I segregate it out? What do you want to call it, coaching?
Well, as per contract.
Professional, how about professional learning?
Contracted
Okay.
class.
And that's $5,000 a year?
Yeah, but he doesn't know you're gonna take it, I think, right? Isn't that what you told us? Like,
Yeah,
you-
still exploring what that.
what's gonna-
Okay. All right. I got that on the master file, so you'll see that in that file I post
Thank you.
next week. Let's put it here for now.
Do we want to tackle anything else? No, okay. Are there any public comments? And I believe there are no public comments electronically. So it looks like our next meeting is the 29th at 6 o'clock. Back here as well. Please enjoy some cookies as we exit. Please be careful this weekend with the inclement weather, and have a good evening, everybody.
All right, I need a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion, any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries, meeting adjourned.